Da-dum dum da-dum. Da-dum dum da-dum. I can never nail that. So we're back. This is the AKAPAD's Audio Audacity podcast. I am AKAPAD. Find me on Twitter at AKAPAD. And right here, right now, we are continuing our conversation of the Terminator franchise. And we have a raw deal. And that's a Schwarzenegger reference. Raw Deal is a pretty good movie. Go check it out. This movie got a raw deal. We're talking Terminator Genisys. I'm going to say it again. The director got double raw deals because he directed Thor: The Dark World. That's a decent movie. People completely undercut that movie. It upsets me. You hear that intro coming. Can we get through the intro and discuss Terminator Genisys again? We talked about it a lot on this podcast because I think it's one of the better ones. I think it's one of the better sci-fi movies. Can we just get through the intro? Hello, everyone. Hey, happy Thanksgiving, because that is when this is dropping. This is dropping either on Thanksgiving Eve, the Wednesday, or Thursday of Thanksgiving. And why is that? Because I took a little bit of a break. I didn't want to, because I hate not talking to everyone out there. I hate not talking to you about movies. But sometimes life kicks up. Sometimes I need extra rest. And, yeah, the world's not perfect. I'm sorry. And sometimes, I'm adjusting my mic there. And sometimes I need my body, my mind. It just tells me to slow the F down. So, what's up with this movie? Leading into this, I watched this movie at least 3 more times. I researched it a little. Nothing crazy about the research for this. Look, every single Terminator movie, we can start with Dark Fate. Dark Fate, Genisys, Salvation, T3 deals with a dance, a back and forth with Cameron, a back and forth with Arnold Schwarzenegger, a back and forth over what production company, who's doing what, who has the rights, who's paying for it. These movies just cannot start easy. Every single Terminator movie starts in this tornado. It's like a whirlwind. And Genisys is no exception. Genisys, of all the Terminator movies, all of them, every single one. Now, this includes Terminator 1984 and Terminator Judgment Day, because those are the two that we have to compare it all to that, but not really. And that's been the point. That's been the thread for this entire Terminator run on this podcast. What am I talking about? Here's what I'm talking about. These movies every single one is a reboot of itself. If we consider Terminator 2 Judgment Day as a closing of the circle, and this includes T2 3D Battle Across Time, the theme park attraction, which was supposed to be a bridge into Cameron's own T3. If we take these movies as almost like one-off adventures, one-off ideas, one-off sequels, they all matter, they all don't matter. It's the hypocrisy. Most people cannot grip the hypocrisy. So when they look at this franchise, they just see failure. They see one failed reboot, one failed sequel after the next. Terminator Genisys, and I'm getting to my point. Terminator Genisys, going all the way back to Terminator 1984, is the most visionary of all of these movies. You can kind of argue that Terminator Salvation is visionary, and it is. And it uses machine guns. It's the day after. And I say machine guns and not lasers, because the future war is lasers. But Salvation takes the approach of the day after the nuclear strikes. Like, what happens immediately after the strikes? Where are we? What are we doing? What are they trying to figure out? That's cool. I think McG deserves so much more credit than he gets for that. This movie is the ballsiest of all of them. And hey, that even includes T3, Rise of the Machines, which is the actual rise of the machines. The good guys do not win in that movie. The good guys barely survive, and they commit to the bit at the end of that movie. Terminator Genisys. The plot of this movie is the idea that let's go back to 1984. The beginning future war sequence in this movie is the best. It's the best. John Connor in this movie is my favorite John Connor. Sorry, Eddie Furlong. Sorry, Christian Bale. This is my John Connor. Kyle Reese in this movie, I like. I like this Kyle Reese. I like him a lot. Our director, Alan Taylor, just a quick shout out. You did good, dude. You ushered in a good movie. We go back to 1984. We go back to the Future Wars. We get detail into the time travel. John Connor has intimate knowledge of all the movements and locations of the machines, and that is how they win the war. See, this is not the John Connor from the original 84, like the future John Connor. This is a different thread John Connor. He has full knowledge of what the machines are doing, and they're caught in a loop. They're caught in a, like the humans win because they overcome what the machines changed. And it goes, and then like the humans change things and the machines change things. This, again, going back to what I said during our Sarah Connor Chronicles episode, this what makes Terminator so good. Because it's just the ideas, it's just the concepts, it's just the explanations. It is true science fiction. The explaining and understanding the time travel nuances within all of these movies is far greater than understanding that of Back to the Future. And I say that because so many people go into Back to the Future. The logic for this movie is very much comparable to Hot Tub Time Machine 2, which is also a great movie. Look, we have to do it. We have to go into that comparison. It's also... but it doesn't play it loose. It plays it with stakes. So we're back in 1984, and when Kyle Reese gets sent back, Sarah Connor is already aware and she's trained. She already has a Terminator. She has like a pet. She calls him Pops. They themselves have built their own time machine. The machines are fully aware of this, and they're sending everything back. They're sending a T-1000 to 1984 to deal with this threat then. Okay, so that's why, and these ideas miss people. And, because they think of the continuity, they think of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And they confuse themselves and take themselves out of the game. If you're into fresh original ideas, fresh original takes, if you're into balls, if you're into swinging for the fences, if you're into MMA and punching someone in the face legally, this is the movie, because the movie itself just has grit. It has balls. They finally got they committed what Terminator Salvation could not do. Even though Terminator Salvation was brought down by an internet leak, we have our villain, John Connor, that was meant for Salvation. We have the Terminator John Connor. This movie ends with such an idea, that, again, exploring the concept that Skynet is universal almost. Skynet is cloud-based. Skynet is multiple servers. Skynet doesn't have a core. The 1984 Skynet had a core. This one doesn't, but it expands on the origin and the growth of Skynet from Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. This movie picks everything from all the other movies, picks the best, and delivers something truly fun, truly unique. This, I haven't seen Dark Fate, but the special effects for this movie alone is mind-blowing. I love the Terminator sequences in this. I love the fight scenes in this. I love the action sequences in this. We have our highway, we have our giant vehicle getting flipped. This is a trope now from Terminator 2 and Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, and this movie picks it up. This time it's a school bus on, I think, the Golden Gate Bridge. It's phenomenal. So, what do people miss about this movie? I don't know. I really don't know. Because every time I talk to people about this movie, they don't get it, they don't explain it, and it sounds like they barely watched it. And I get this time and time again. So, what's the point? What's the point of tearing this movie down? Now, if we go into the box office, worldwide, this movie did $432 million in 2015. Came out July 1st. Comparatively speaking, Terminator Dark Fate is only at $250 million. No one cared about Terminator Dark Fate. I have yet to see it. Terminator Salvation is at $365 million. Terminator Rise of the Machines from 2003, also released on July 1st, $433 million. Genisys had the level of hype, the level of anticipation, the level of success that Rise of the Machines had. Rise of the Machines had a lot going into it. And then, look, we have Judgment Day, we have Terminator, we don't have to discuss that box office. Domestically, though, Rise of the Machines is 150, Salvation is 125, Genisys is 90 million, Dark Fate is 60 million. This, I think these movies need to be at least at 100 million to move forward. Of all of these movies, Genisys, the idea of a Genisys sequel, because again, it's a plain trilogy. It's amazing. It's amazing to think what they could do, of what they set up. This is as when it comes to a .1 movie, Rise of the Machines, great start to a trilogy. Salvation, great start to a trilogy. Genisys, great start to a trilogy. But Genisys is the one I'm most curious about, because Genisys has this idea that we're going to converge these timelines. We're going to introduce the concept of a time war. It's not just future war, and the last resort gets sent back to maybe prevent the outcome of the war. This is a time war movie. I so wish they called this movie Terminator Time War, or Time Battle, or whatever. Time War would have worked. I don't care, because no one seems to like Genisys, and no one understands Genisys. And I would say, of all the Terminator subtitles, Genisys probably is the worst one. No one gets it. People hate how it's spelled, so on and so forth. This movie could have used a theme song by Phil Collins. What can I say? But everyone, this is a short episode because this is a good movie. And you have to watch it and rewatch it and understand it, because there are so many things to understand. When I was watching this, I would sit down and be like, you know what? I'm like, what's the explanation for Sarah Connor's time machine? Okay. What do they do with the time machine? Oh. How did they get to that place at the end? And every time I would just wait for those explanations, and that helps with the slow dissection of a movie. But this movie, it's great. It's good. I don't know. I guess I'm crazy. But hey, everyone, welcome. And thank you for joining me for AKAPAD's Audio Audacity Podcast, episode 259. And look, I didn't want to do it, but I'm going to do it. Episode 260 of this podcast, our next episode, is going to deal with the Terminator Genisys web series that is one of the best cross-platform, cross-promotion, new and old, modern day media pushes that we've seen, and it's so fun, it's so original, and they did a great job with it. But it's only 3 episodes, but we're going to talk about the Genisys YouTube Chronicles. It's Terminator Genisys YouTube Chronicles. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. That's the full name. And again, this is something no one discusses, but it matters, and I think it did translate to a lot of the box office success of this movie. That is going to be episode 260, and episode 261 will be the fate of Dark Fate, because I'm technically out. I'm out of the game of seeing Dark Fate. The showtimes in Philly, there's less and less by the day. None of it matches up with me. It's breaking my heart, but I still want to discuss Dark Fate and do somewhat of an analysis for you and discuss what I know about the movie and what I think about a lot of what happened around the flick. And I do feel like that's very important because a lot came out with the failure of that. And, it's a Shark Tank, and some of these sharks start nipping at one another. That's great stuff, and that's the stuff we have to discuss. And then we're going to go, I kind of want to do Midway, the two versions of Midway, because I saw Midway on Veterans Day with my family, minus my mother, and we all loved it. And I kind of wanted to do a Star is Born run of all 4 Star is Borns, because I recently saw that, and that blew my mind. I don't know how Bradley Cooper doesn't win Best Actor and get more Oscar adulation. That blew my mind. But I wanted to do a deep dive into all of those, so I've been watching those also. I'm becoming a Star is Born expert. And then we're going to hit Star Wars. So we're going to just, do a little, and then we're going to hit Star Wars. But that's a lot of stuff, and I want to bring it all to you. But until next time, episode 260, Terminator Genisys, the YouTube Chronicles. I'm Peter A. DeLuca, a.k.a. AKAPAD. Thank you for joining me, and I love you.